All right. So what you're seeing here is the developer console, or rather, the developer tool of every browser. You might ask, how did you get here, sir? All you need to do is just right click and you come to inspect. You will see inspect on your browser if you right click, right? But because I've already opened it, it's showing this is the back end of your normal browser, whether it is Explorer, Chrome, Firefox, or anything. Remember that your browser is an application that processes programming languages, and in which case web programming languages, JavaScript, Python, HTML, like the um the this page that I just this page that, are you seeing what is happening as I'm moving? Yeah, this is ChatGPT. As I'm moving my mouse around, you are seeing different HTML elements of this interface.
Okay.
These are all the HTML elements of this interface. This is a div, right? So one of the ways of starting to learn programming, you can start with HTML to just understand how browser programming language is, which is HTML. HTML is the basics of your browse of the internet web application, right? So as I'm moving my mouse, different elements are highlighted. This is just a cycle, but the action around this cycle is determined by JavaScript. The fact that if I type here now, right, and press enter, it's JavaScript that is detecting my mouse action. Normally, it is the DOM function. There's something called document object management or something, DOM breakout, this feature. Right, like I said, I'm not into development, but you just need to understand why I open this up for you is that when you come here, this console, if you have Python installed on your phone, on your laptop, and you press, what was it that I think I have Python here. If I press this, let me type name. If I type name equals to Alice, and I put age equals to 8, and I put height equals to, space 0.5, this, and I say print name, comma, age, comma, height, height, and I close it. If I do enter, it's already initiated the print for me. How do I show you that now? So a print window came up on my terminal because I've given it this command, print.
Okay.
Did you understand?
Yeah.
A print function came up on my terminal because I've given it this command. And the browser got to understand this syntax because I have Python installed on my system. I have Python installed on my system. To install Python, all you just do is to go to python.org, blah, 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 and you download. So this basic example is meant to teach an 8-year-old. Are you seeing it now?
Yes.
So if you go through something like this, in 4 weeks, you will understand what programming is. I can ask it and say, develop a full course content for week 1. Did you see what it's doing? It's asking me to go to python.org and download Python. And then IDE is integrated development environment, like VS Code that I asked you guys to install. There are different types of IDE. The one I just showed you is it's not an IDE, but it's a console in browser, right? And then, so this is basically what you need, to begin to understand what programming is. And it's good to know it, because even if, depending on the job role you are trying to go for, if it's uh, a technical role, you interface with people from other departments. If they are talking, you need to be able to understand. Even if you're an auditor and they are telling you about, okay, this line of code, you are trying to audit their process, and they are trying to explain this code to you, you need to, get to flow along with them. So it's good.
Yes.
It's good to
Okay.
learn. It's good to learn. The only aspect of computing or job roles in industry that you don't really need to understand coding is sales. If your business is just to sell products, right? And so just choose your battles in the game, right? But general knowledge is important. It's good to have general knowledge. I will be frank with you. It's good to have general knowledge. Is that okay? Any
Yes.
other question?
So for the AI role, I've gotten my answers just to try as much as possible to get a grip of that Python program.
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
it's good. It's
Okay.
good for you to,
Okay.
yeah, it's good. Though some of the things we're going to be talking about will not involve, like today's class will be more of, we're going to use the interface, the portal. I think we have not really done much of coding in this class. It's important not to be scared of it. Don't feel, oh, this thing is difficult. No, because there are other types of codes that you need to learn to use. Simple PowerShell, simple DOS commands, right? Simple YAML codes. YAML is even written more in human understandable language, but they are also code. Like in the cloud space, we have infrastructure as code. Remember I mentioned that, where rather than clicking buttons in the portal, all you do is to set up your infrastructure via code. So it's just important for you not to feel that, oh, it is going to be a bit tough or difficult, right? Yeah. Any other question? Okay. Does anybody have anything to ask? Any question before I start off for this class? Please feel free to ask if you do. I'm just giving us, but I'll start by the next 4 minutes if you have any. Okay, if there is none, we'll just start off. Let me get my slides up. So today's class, we're going to be talking about one of the AI solutions in Azure, which is Azure Document Intelligence. Document Intelligence, and that is yeah. So Document Intelligence is one of the AI services under Azure, and It is a product that was developed to assist or to enable automation of document processing in an organization using artificial intelligence. There are many instances where people have hard copy documents in thousands. For example, a typical scenario is Nigerian court uh, law courts. They are usually a manual-based system where the judges have to write all their judgments. They have to handwrite all their judgments. Now, if you are employed as a consultant to help them with digitalization or to see how to use AI to enhance their process, document intelligence is something you can propose for them. The application, the back end models were trained uh, with thousands of data to um, process documents using optical optical computer recognition (OCR). Um, and what that involves is that physical documents can the information on the physical document can be extracted in key pair values. Key pair values means that there will be a primary key that will be tied to every information that is in that document. And, you know, applications can be built around the solution to carry out any form of automation. Um, the, the question to ask here is, what is document intelligence? It's a machine learning technology. The models were built and are hosted in Azure. The back-end models are hosted in Azure, but you have access to the endpoints of the resource, and you can use pre-built models, right? When I say pre-built, means you'll see it as we're going to do a demo. Pre-built model of the service. So they've taken time to train different types of document like ID card, marriage certificate, utility bills, some standard documents in countries like the US. And, if you have sample data or sample document of those type of documents, you can just easily run a read function on the resource, and it will extract the information. Like some of you who have applied for visa, there are times when they will say, if you do the application on your phone, for example, and you open the application on your phone, it will ask you to put your passport, and then you take a photograph of your passport. That function that you are doing, you are just taking a photograph, but the future of OCR technology has been built into that application so that it will extract your information of your name, your surname, your date of birth, everything that is needed from that physical document, and it will pick it up from the image and transmit it, right? So that is a use case of document intelligence. Another use case is like there was one customer that I supported. They were trying to build a solution where people can automatically use their phone to read meter reading. They would take meter reading with their phone, and the application will automatically extract the meter reading and submit it remotely via the network. There are different use cases to this solution. The stages of the process of the solution is that you will have your documents in different forms, like images, PDF, which have been scanned, right?
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, sorry, I just want to see if this example also matches what you are describing.
Yes.
Like I noticed when I submit application and I upload my CV in some certain
Mm-hmm.
um, site,
Mm-hmm.
it will extract all the vital information and populate it in the
Yes.
appropriate field
Yes. Yes.
of that application
Yes. Yes.
template.
That's another example. Yeah. It's another
Thank you, sir.
example. Yeah. So there are a lot of use cases. That's why it's good to know these solutions and how to build them. It's a very good example you have given. So uh, the document has to be in digital form using OCR technology, right? Then the next step is to extract the text, the lines, the words, and other metadata. When you see this word called metadata, all it means is every other information that is relevant to the processing that is required on the application is called metadata. Things like um, maybe the extra information of IP address or any other information that is required, right? Because in developing application, there are other data that are processed alongside, apart from the main data that you can physically see, right? But this is the main aspect of how the model um, picks up the data. It will analyze the document based on, you know, sorry, uh, I moved on to my, pardon me, sorry about that. Yeah, so I was trying to annotate on the screen. Can you see my annotation? Can you see this? Is it visible to you?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it
All
is.
right. Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
I wasn't sure. All right. So the document has so the model is designed to pick information based on the positioning of the words, right? And at what angle they are also located. So any word that is from the top left, it will pick it. From the top right, it will look for it this way up and this way, and then bottom at all the angles it will find words and then arrange them into bounding box like this, so and assign values to them. It's going to assign values to them. Any word that is to the top left, it will assign a value, and that value is it's called confidence score. Confidence score. The confidence score is the probability of accuracy of that data extraction. So if you carry out this process and your confidence score is less than, let's say, 0.5, which is 50%, you want to be wary of the quality of that extract. And in order to fix that, to improve your confidence score, all you need to do is to provide the model with more uh, sample data, of which the model will now uh, be able to aggregate the various positioning of those letterings in the sample data you have provided. Similar uh, documents, right? Let's say you have a sample birth certificate. You need to have birth certificate for Moses, for Anna, for John, and for Lydia or for Mohammed, right? But the structure of the document will be the same. In that case, the model will be able to understand and establish a correlation across those documents, and then your confidence score can improve. So this, sorry, this whole aspect that you are seeing here, right, is the model. And this model, like I mentioned earlier, is hosted in Azure. It's hosted in Azure. If you want to run your own model, custom model training, you can begin to use machine learning studio in Azure to train up a model like this and come up with your own solution, right? But we live in a world now where you leverage on what others have done and then you build on it. And why did I say that? By Microsoft providing this model to you, all you're going to have access to is the endpoint. When I mean endpoint, just a URL that will provide every information that you need to access this model. And that URL is in the cloud here. All you do is to integrate that URL into your application, either as a REST API or directly into your software development kit for either Python, for Java, for JavaScript, or whatever. You're going to see some of the examples of that. So this is an example of what I was trying to refer to. You will see that the document had this information. This word purchase order is at the top left location of the document, right? The company phone number is here. Website is here. Email is located at this is at an angle, so to say. This can be at an angle. There is a bit of deflection from here, but the model has been designed to understand every positioning. And what it will do is to give a value to the position of each word. For example, this example you are seeing here is for the purchase order word. And the bounding box has been given to determine the position in terms of height, this, and angle at which it is located on the document. So for each of these words, it will have its own bounding box. Each of these words will have its own bounding box. And you can see the confidence score. The confidence score here is 0.87. That is 87.8%, which is a very good one. And so you are sure that at any time, if you integrate this into an application, it will always read your document for you, right? So the use case, we have talked about the use case. To build high accuracy model from scratch, people need to build deep learning models, use a large amount of compute resource, and face long model training times. Azure Document Intelligence provides underlying models that have been trained on thousands of form examples. The underlying models enable you to do high accuracy data extraction from your forms. Forms are used, well, it's just stated here as an example. Then other types, these are the various types of documents. We have, in the US, there is a form called W-2 form. It's an employment form. We have invoices, different types of invoices. If maybe you are working for an ERP organized company, for example, and you have been recruited as an AI specialist to come and transform their process for them. Your work is not necessarily to design the software, but to provide consultancy or to work as an advisor, right? So you can look at how they are processing their invoices. Are they doing it manually, right? And then you can propose a solution that would digitalize it for them. This use case, I know back home in Nigeria, we have a lot of use case for this solution. So some of you who are thinking of getting good jobs back home in Nigeria, you can leverage these ID document, business cards, and the output for the document will be given out in JSON format, right? JSON is a form of data manipulation, right? I think I explained what JSON means last week to us. So there are pre-built, sorry, let me go back. There are pre-built models for each of these document types. So the pre-built models have been built for these document types, but you can also use the document intelligence resource to build your own custom model. Let's assume that you are in an organization and they have documents that have structure that is different from these pre-built models. You can decide to now use the custom model feature to do the extraction and then the training, right? So custom model extraction from data, I've already done that. So there is a document intelligence studio which you can use to carry out this operation. It's like a portal. You can also do this via code. You can also do it via code. So we're going to learn the two aspects. But for today, what I'm going to be showing us is the document intelligence studio, how to use it. Next week, we're going to take on the code aspect. I've mentioned the and then I said earlier that the result of every operation is given as a REST API. As a REST API. And then you can also use your SDK, client SDK, to run the operation and get your output. The idea of using client SDK is so that you can integrate it into any application you are building. If, let's say, the application that a developer is building is Python based, it means you will use a Python SDK. If it is JavaScript based, you're going to use a JavaScript SDK. If it is C# based, you're going to use C# SDK. Yeah, this is what I just explained. So the next thing is the demo. Does anybody have any question? Any question? All right. So we're going to go to the demo now. And okay. Can we all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, excellent. So I'm sure this interface should be familiar to all of us now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, if you can just zoom it out.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it's, yeah, thank you.
Is that better? Right? Yeah, maybe I should rather share the, yeah, I think it's still okay to share the entire window. Yeah, I'll just share the entire window just to, okay. Sometimes sharing is this better? This is better, right?
Yes, it's better. Thank you.
Yes. So remember that this is Azure Portal. And the first thing we want to do is to identify our resource group where we want to create our resources. If you remember, we created a resource group for this class, which is the dev app, and we have two resources. This speech is also an AI service. We're going to go to speech later, right? This is a virtual network, if you remember, which is your, like, the LAN, the basic LAN in your subscription in the cloud in Azure. So what we'll do here, we come here and do create. We'll go to the marketplace. I will type here document. So document intelligence used to be known as form recognizer. So don't be confused when you see it this way. It used to be known as form recognizer. But if I type, I can select anyone, right? If I come here, it takes me straight to these. If I still go back and type document, it's just keyword. It's not like they are different. It's just keywords. Remember that the resources here are basically code base. But you will see that there are other document intelligence platforms in the marketplace. What I want you to know is that there are companies that have built solutions on top of Azure, on top of the foundation that foundation technology that Microsoft already provides. For example, you see this company called New Desic. They built a document intelligence platform, and you can try it out for free, right? This is the original one we're trying to create. But you see, there is another one here called Smart Document Cloud with Azure AI Documents. It's a SaaS solution, and to use this, it's £7 a month, right? So these are all different types of applications that you can leverage on. They've already, built the baseline, and you can just leverage on. Some of them will have different use cases that will help, but we'll go with the basic one, which is the document intelligence. And then we'll come here, we'll click create. The subscription I'm using is development. The resource group I have is here. The region is East US. I want to just give it a name. What name do we give it? Doc?
Just doc. Doc sample.
Doc sample -01, right? And then I need to select a pricing tier. Oh, it's asking me to. Now, you need to be aware of the pricing tier of, let me show you what I mean by that. So there is the free instance, there is the standard, and the limitation is based on the number of pages you can process. So if you are going to process between 0 to 1 million pages, you will pay £1, $1.50 per 1,000 page. And this is the operation you can carry out on them. The read operation, these are all pre-built model that I mentioned. Anything customized, classification, you can also classify, and then you can train. So basically, this is the costs table. So it's good to always, any resource you are going to spin up in Azure, it's good to understand your cost table. So ideally, I created a resource before. Oh, it says the free for this is already being used by your subscription for this. Click here to view your existing resource. Okay, let me click here and see. I created a free resource before, and so it's not allowing me to create another free resource. But I deleted it. Doc sample 01. Yeah, it's not allowing me to, of course, for monetary reasons. So for the network, I'm selecting all network. All network means it's open to the public. Are you following? It's open to the public means that anybody that has access to my endpoint and the API key, there is what we call the API key. Remember, I talked about the endpoint earlier. In order for me to use that endpoint, I need a key. It's like a password, right? If I choose all networks and I expose that key to the public, anybody can use my resource and consume that resource, and I will pay the bills, right? So if I want to secure my resource, I'll attach it to a virtual network. I have an existing virtual network. I will attach it here. There is subnet on it. You remember I talked about subnet in this class, and then I will do create. But for this class, I will just select all network, right? When it comes to security aspect of securing AI solution, we'll talk about integrating it with virtual network. There are other things that goes along with it. We'll progress with that later. So I'll review and create. It will run a validation to be sure that I can create. Damilola, remember I talked about code, learning other variants of code in generally.
Yeah.
If I click here now, you will get the automation template for that result. Let's say I want to deploy this resource without necessarily coming to this portal to deploy it. This is the ARM template, of that resource. ARM template. Let me show you.
Is this YAML?
No, that is the Azure ARM template.
ARM template. Okay.
The ARM template. If I come here and I select, you will see ARM template. This is the ARM template. We also have the newer one. When Azure was first launched, it was launched with ARM, which is also the most popular. But later on, they came up also with Biceps. People use Biceps now.
Okay.
And then there are also, you can easily convert your ARM template to Bicep. This is the infrastructure as code languages for Azure. Terraform is the multi-cloud infrastructure as code platform. When I say multi-cloud, I mean that if you learn more Terraform, you'll be able to deploy infrastructure as code to any cloud provider. So for Terraform, they have what they call provider templates, right? They have what we call provider template, and the company that designed Terraform is called HashiCorp Corporation. They started it as an open source, but now people have to pay. There is a registry for Terraform, and this is the registry for Terraform. And so normally, if you want to get a template for Terraform, you need to come here and select the provider. In this case, I'll come to provider. I will select, is it AWS I want? Is it Azure? Is it Google Cloud? Is it Kubernetes? Is it Alibaba? Oracle Cloud, but because we are learning Azure, I'll just select Azure. So anything I get here is telling me just information about, so this is the GitHub repository for Terraform provider for Azure. Sorry, I hope I'm not digressing. Let me just go back. Don't feel overwhelmed. Just take it as piecemeal information, bit size, and just keep moving on. But remember, this is ARM template. So ARM template, I can download it. I can download it. I can download the ARM template. I've downloaded it already. I can redeploy it. If I come here and I click deploy, I can redeploy it as a code. It will just select all the necessary parameters. I'll take a separate class on ARM templates, how to write ARM templates, how to check for errors, and what have you. So if I come here, I select my resource group. The region I'm going for is UK South. I'll just select anything I want here. If I come here, I do O2. It has automatically populated some of the fields. I do next. So I can create a template from here. And you notice that two resources will be created now. One I created directly from by selecting the resource type from the portal. The second one, I created it from the ARM template. If I come to my resource group, I'm going to see two resources. This is the first, the second one. Oh, pardon me. I didn't create, remember I didn't proceed. I didn't carry on with, I just redeployed. I just redeployed. I deployed the code. We didn't click on create. Am I correct? Did anybody notice? Did anybody notice that?
Yes.
I didn't
But
click.
it has deployed.
It has deployed. So what I created here, I created from code, right? Because by selecting create here and typing document intelligence, and I say create, and I select region, and I say doc sample 01 pricing tier. Sometimes Azure doesn't refresh on time from the back end. You know, when I come here under the validation, remember that this was where I view the template and then deploy. If I had created here, I would have had another resource created. Do you understand? So if I create this now, I'll have 2 document intelligence resource in that resource group. Let's give it some time. Normally, you come here to check the progress. If I refresh, can you see now? It's already created. I'm still creating rather. So let's wait for that. So if I click on the resource, this is my AI resource now. This is my AI resource. The second one has fully deployed. I'll go back to my resource group. You see, I have 2 now, right? I have 2. They are all in the same region. So I will select the first one. Every information about the document, the resources is on the left-hand plane. The overview is here. You will see the resource group where you have created it, the location. The API kind is form recognizer, right? Pricing tier is standard. Remember I mentioned endpoint. This is the endpoint of my resource, right? Remember I also talked about keys. If I click here, I'm going to see my keys. If I say show keys, these are my keys. So these keys now, if I accidentally expose it, let's say any of you go with it, you have an application and you just pick this key and you pick this endpoint, you are going to use this my resource without my knowledge. Are you seeing the security labs there? So, you know, you're in an organization, you are doing an audit, you want to find out how are they managing their keys. Ideally, these keys should be in a resource called Key Vault. Key Vault is where it's just what the name, where you lock up your keys. Key Vault, right? I can come here and create a Key Vault, Azure Key Vault. Yeah, I think it's this one. No, sorry, this one. Key Vault. So this is a resource where you can lock up your keys. I'm not sure how much this resource is. I think it's free. I'm not sure. Let me see the pricing. Okay, standard and premium, right? I don't want to create it, so it doesn't charge me money for that. So that's just an example of where you can store your keys. There is a configuration to how you store it, you know, securely. So this is every information about the resource, the keys and the endpoint, the encryption that goes with it. Encryption normally is in 2 forms. There is the default. The default is Microsoft Managed Encryption. But customers can also have their own keys. Big organizations that they, you know, have their own internal security arrangements can have their own keys, and this is where they will define the URL of those keys, and then you save it. The commitment and tier is just the pricing, right? No, sorry, the commitment is if I'm buying commitment tier. Commitment means I'm committing to a monthly spend. Normally, people go for the pay as you go. The pricing tier of the resource is defined here. If I've connected it, the network setting, this is the tab that will show me my network connectivity. Remember that when I was creating it, I selected all networks. If I had selected my virtual network at the time of creation, this should have been selected. But let's say after creating it, I want to now secure it properly based on internal security policy. I will ask the network engineer for details about, or the network engineer would come here and tighten up the network connectivity, right? When I come, I'll click on add, and from here, select the virtual network, and then I'll select the subnet that I want to connect to, and then I'll click enable, right? When I do that, I will then save. So I don't want to do that now. Identity of the resource is how this resource is going to authenticate across Azure. This resource is an entity in itself, right? So you can determine who would have access to this resource from this tab of identity. You can also give this resource access to other resources within Azure by changing configurations here. And what we do here is to add different roles. You can add different roles from here normally from the overview. No, sorry, from the IAM. From the IAM settings, you can add roles for this resource, and those roles can be, you know, either contributor role. For in this case, this is my subscription. I'm the entire owner of this subscription. That's why you see my name here. Or I can come here and add, if I have somebody in my organization or in my tenant. Remember, I talked about tenants. Organization, tenant, subscription. If you still remember the foundation class that we took, I will come here and add role assignment to this resource, and I will say whoever would have access would have access to these features of the resource, which is cognitive recognizer. Where is document intelligence? The speech. Okay, cognitive service user. I will come here and do next. I will come here and add that selected member. Femi is one of the users of this subscription. If you remember Femi, the data engineer, I can give him access to this resource from here, right? But let's say I want to give access to another resource, access to this resource. It will be manage identity. I'll come here and select the identity of a secondary resource that would use this application. These are just architectural configuration of how you can use the application. But let's go straight to what I want us to do tonight, which is processing the data, a document. We'll come here. Remember, I talked about document intelligence today. If I click on this, it's going to open for me another studio. This is an entirely different portal. And this portal was designed as a UI to use the document intelligence solution. Now, the different models and the features of the model are shown as cards here. So if you want to just read a document, you use this. You want to run layout, you want to know how a document is laid out or the contents of the document, you select this. Anything general, these are the pre-built model I talked about, the invoice, the receipt, identity document, health insurance. Or let's assume that we see marriage certificate is here, credit card, contract, business. Let's say you have your own unique document in your organization. All you need to do is to come and select custom extraction model. You can classify the documents by running a custom classification model before you extract it, right? So usually people do this. But for this class, we'll just pick a basic does anybody have any question? Am I too fast? Any question?
No question.
All right, thank you. So we'll just select the read, and now it's prompting me to authenticate. So this is Microsoft Entra that is trying to authenticate me on this domain, my Azure Entra ID. I'll select here. So I'm trying to connect this studio now to the resource that I created here. So I can either do that by selecting these or go straight to getting an endpoint. Remember, I talked about somebody else using your endpoint and API key if you're not careful. So if someone has access to my endpoint and API, the person can just come here, drop the endpoint here, put an API key and connect and start using it. But I already know where my resource is. It's in my dev subscription. I'll go to my resource group. I will select the document and then I will continue. I can also create a new resource directly from the studio here. It will create it automatically. Let's say I want to create a new, I will define the name and create a new one. Well, I will just connect now. What I'm trying to do now is set up a project. Oh, couldn't be recognized. Wow. Oh, so it hasn't recognized. Come here. Come here. Okay. So what you saw there was just cache, cookies. Cookies. I've run a resource before, like I told you earlier, so it was still looking for that. But this is the resources we create. If I select use that resource, I will just come here. So I'm back now. If I come to this, it's using this resource. Can you see that's the default now? If I come back to the studio, if I click on read, so it's loading up. These are all sample data that comes with the application. These are all sample data. If I select this one, I'll come here and look for any option that I want to. If I want to analyze all the documents, let's assume this is up to 10 pages, 20 pages. I can come here and define and say, just give me a range of the page that I want to scan, right? If it's all documents, it will scan all the documents here. So I'll come here. Then the first thing I will do is to run analysis. So you will see that after running the analysis, it picked up this content. It has extracted it as this. It didn't pick up the picture because it's only text that's is required. If you need picture, there's another resource called computer vision. It's another AI resource that it's used more for face detection, right? But this paragraph has been detected, this one has been detected, and the extraction is here. If I come to the result, you will see the box I mentioned earlier for each of the word. Now, this format you are seeing is a JSON format. anytime you see code in this form, normally to start with this coily brace, you need to just know that every coily brace has a beginning, an opening coily brace, and a corresponding uh, um, closing one, right? A corresponding closing one. So this one is an opening one. At the bottom, there will be a closing one. Then these are the key and value pair that I was talking about. This is a key. And some of these keys you are seeing are constants. They must be defined. So from here to here are constants. They are like information that the endpoint will look for to understand the authenticity of this JSON call. So, because if you're trying to send an information to the backend model, it will be sent in this JSON format. You will see here that the API version is also defined. This API version always changes as the product is improved every month. The API version will change. The model ID is also defined. Now, if you are running your own custom model, you will define what your model ID will be. You give it a name. That's for custom model. We're going to do it together. If you run a custom model, it will show in the studio here, right? A string index type, this is just a universal code. And then it's telling you the content of this first part and the polygon box, and then the confidence score. You see, the confidence score is very high, right? And then other parameters like the span, the offset. This information are just what normally the data scientists is what are the people who run this analysis and present the data to the developers, right? So these are all the information. At the end of the day, if I want to integrate this into my application, I will just either come here and download, or I could also from here, and if I download, it's coming up as JSON. I could also from here generate a code directly. If I want to just use it directly in my code, this is a Python, ready-made Python code that has been created. So this entire code you are seeing here will integrate directly into an application. If it's a JavaScript, if I select JavaScript now, the code will change because the syntax of JavaScript and Python are different. If it's C#, I'm selecting, the syntax will also change. This syntax just means, syntax now in English language, syntax, vocabulary is just what syntax is. The rule that guides how you write these codes. But there are some universal concepts around programming, which is variables, data structure, data types, data manipulation, and all of that, right? If you see this is a variable, anything you see with equal to, the parameter on the other side is a variable. Anytime you see equal to, variables have been defined. You see this is a string data type. This is an integer data type. A for loop is going on here, I think. These are just basic Boolean operation is going on here. So yeah. C# is Microsoft proprietary programming language. Python is more an open source thing. Everybody use Python. So basically, that is just what I would like to show us for today. At the end of the day, this information has been extracted. If I have many more of these documents, all I need to do is just run a read operation and I'll be able to extract them. Okay. There are other functions of layout that we can also do. let's assume that I want to run layout. I can label this document and also get, you see, this document has images. This document has images. There are query fields that I need to create for each of the elements here before running analysis, so that when I run a new document, it will pick up all the query fields and match it with what I have defined, right? I would like to stop here for today because time is already fast spent. If anybody has any question, I can take more questions now. Any question? Okay. If there's no question, hope to see you guys again next week. The other engineer coming for machine learning is likely to start next week. He hasn't finished his preparation, so but like I said, he will run it in concurrence. I would take Saturdays, he would take Sunday. I think if you take it that way, it will help you to understand the concept from end to end, right? Because a model like this that I've just shown you, I've been trained using machine learning. You understand? Yeah. All right. Any question? I hope it doesn't feel overwhelming, does it?
No.
All right. Okay. Enjoy your evening, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Thank
Thank you
sir.
so much
Thank you very much, sir.
for the effort and the time. We appreciate. God bless you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, everyone. You're welcome. Enjoy your evening together with your family.
And you too.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.